Last week was Wizard of Oz. Tonight, it's Wizard of Oz. It's Elvis. It's Nicolas Cage in a snakeskin jacket. It's Laura Dern screaming. It's her mother, Diane Ladd, screaming. It's Willem Dafoe with a fucked up set of teeth talking about fucking like a jackrabbit bunny. It's a hit. A bank job. A David Lynch love story called Wild at Heart from 1990. RickRamos. Go.
This was the film that basically introduced me to David Lynch. This was the film, not the first that I had ever seen. It was the first I'd ever seen was The Elephant Man, and then I had definitely seen parts of Blue Velvet, but I had avoided. We've had this discussion in the past where Lynch was just a little bit too fucking out there, white people shit for me. It's a safety place that I go back to a lot in my viewing of movies, and it was just too weird for me. And you and I went to see this at I guess it was at a revival at the ArcLight Cinemas in Hollywood, right off of Sunset. And I don't know why I agreed to see it. Maybe there's something in me that said, the director, despite my feelings for the work, the director seems important enough to dive into, to at least try to give attention to. Maybe there's something there, and if anything, I appreciate cinema for what it is, and I appreciate it. I appreciate it for the art form that it is, and I think that film, on that viewing, opened up a whole new world for me to maybe see things differently. And I've been a David Lynch fan ever since. I think that had to have been about 12, 13 years ago, wouldn't you say? If you even remember. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I remember we went to see it. I don't know if I had to twist your arm, or I don't know what the fuck, but
I think you did. I think you had to say, come on, man, let's just give it a shot, and and I was like, come on, man. I was like, I couldn't watch that Blue Velvet shit, and up to that point, Blue Velvet was the thing that had turned me off about him. It just didn't work for me.
Go into that. What was, and the white people shit? Be racist.
Sometimes I feel call me a racist. I love it.
I'm saying be racist.
Be racist.
Yeah.
Okay, let's dive right into the racism of.
I want to hear you, because there are different people that are going to dismiss David Lynch for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
I want to hear some of yours.
Well, here's the thing about it is that, and I stand by this. I think there are a number of directors that, not even just directors, I just think art as a whole, and to a degree, we were talking a little bit before the mic about podcasts that I was watching and listening to people just talk shit and to be heard. I believe, whether right or wrong, that there are a number of white filmmakers, artists, musicians, podcasters for that matter, who like being different for different's sake, and like pushing the envelope, not artistically, but not artistically and not even politically, but just as a means of showing art for art's sake, self-conscious art, self-congratulatory art, weird shit for the sake of weird. And when you watch David Lynch in the beginning, either you're pulled into his world or you're put off it for it just being weird and strange and there's no connection to the material. Now, I can't say as you get older, it starts to make sense and all of a sudden it clicks. No, because I remember in high school, people being captivated by both Blue Velvet Eraserhead. Eraserhead was already a staple of the midnight movie, the Friday, Saturday night new art midnight movie across the country. I'm using new art as you know, if you're from LA and you know LA, you know the new art theater. But I think people had already embraced him at that point. Twin Peaks was on, and I remember watching, not even seeing it, but seeing clips of it, thinking, yeah, fuck this. This is no. And this was before my full on dismissal of white people and their voice, I guess is what you can call it. It was just too weird for me. It was just like, what the fuck is no this? But at that point, I hadn't really been pulled into the aesthetics of poetic imagery and like I was a straightforward narrative type.
A story.
Yeah, I like a story with real characters that made sense, with behavior and a plot line that made sense in the world that we were living in. So that's not David Lynch. That's why I was so attracted to Scorsese early on, because it validated. I think we're all hardwired to a certain degree to have an attitude or a belief about society, the human condition, and Travis Bickle spoke to that. So I was a Scorsese guy, which shouldn't limit your view on anything else. But it is kind of like, well, I like this guy. That shit doesn't really work for me.
Yeah, and it makes sense with your personality. Like you're like pretty like okay, like you drink beer, you know, meat and potatoes kind of to a certain extent, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the idea of artsy always just bothered and annoyed me, and it was just like, yeah, that's just too weird for me. But we went to see this movie, and I think there was something that clicked with the whole. There's a surreal aspect to it. It clicked with me that he was making films about dreams.
Yeah.
That it didn't have to make logical sense. And that was the first time that I realized, and I go back on what I believe, and I rarely do this because I don't think, I think in many cases we subscribe to an idea and we'll live and die on that hill. And that viewing upon your recommendation, you know, and this comes down to someone, you know, if you respect somebody, you're like, well, maybe they see something that I don't see. It doesn't always work out that way, but at least it's something that gives you a moment of clarity where you're like, I may be wrong. Let's explore this idea that I'm fucking wrong. Right. And, you know, and I don't know if I wasn't wrong for that time in my life and I came to an understanding, but it clicked and it made sense. And there was a level of, I was excited by it. Now, when I watched it, I was just like, wow, this is, number one, it was brutally violent. It was funny as hell, which I think a lot of people don't understand how funny he is. And maybe that's the thing that puts off a lot of people, is that he's finding so much humor in something so violent and disturbing and offensive in some means. Like, there's a lot in this film where I could, if I were to show it to a regular person, a civilian, I can understand why David Lynch is not a household name. It makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's the elements of this, you know, the straight story, so to speak, that people who only want that, they're not going to be. The immediate thing is going to be like, what the fuck am I watching? Yeah. This is weird, like you said, you know, this is weird. And we you and I come from in many, well, we're super opposites in so many ways.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of things that we vibe on, that we click on, but it's for this, when we saw this at the theater, and it was cool too because we saw it, it was, I think it would have been different had it been like, I'm going to bring this over to your house and we're going to have beer and watch it,
Mm-hmm.
versus like at a fucking theater, like with an audience that gets it, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
that adds to it. But whereas you are going to be like, this is fucking weird. Me growing up, and I'm still growing up, my shit is like, I'm more of the personality and the take of like, okay, like, yeah, it's like, where's the weird shit? Like, where's the layer underneath? Like, this is just superficial. Not this movie, but I mean like a movie that would be considered some basic ass fucking movie that, as you say, a civilian would be like, no, see, I like that because it's just a story. It's like, okay, well, there's fucking tons of stories that come out every fucking day, and everybody has their own fucking story, but I want to see something break that pattern. I want to see something more. And so for me, David Lynch was, like you, I saw the Elephant Man first.
Yeah.
I saw it as a kid,
Mm-hmm.
and then and I rented this. This was what got me into David Lynch too. But the thing is that I saw it and I liked it, and I remember seeing billboards, "Who killed Laura Palmer?"
Yeah, I remember that.
But I never fucking got into Twin Peaks. I for whatever reason I just didn't, and I wish I would have seen it when it was out in the early '90s. You know, the original,
Mm-hmm.
and then once Lost Highway came out, I was all about fucking Lost Highway. And then I really started watching Wild at Heart more in my early 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mulholland Drive hit, and so on. And I mean, and it, of course in there, Eraserhead, like, but we fucking saw it, and I think I was surprised that I think I expected you to be like, yeah, see, this is the kind of shit I'm telling you. Like, this is the kind of shit that I fucking hate, blah, blah, blah. You were into it. You were into it the whole fucking time.
Yeah, yeah. It opened. It was like a drug that opened up a pathway to everything else that he did. Because Blue Velvet got better because of it. I don't think Blue Velvet is as good a film as a lot of people think it is. I think it's a good film. I think Hopper gives a great performance. I think there are iconic moments that are cinematically. When Dean Stockwell starts singing in Dreams, you know exactly what you're like. Oh shit! What the fuck? Yeah, you know. And this film, with all of its with Nicolas Cage at his most Nicolas Cage. And I had forgotten that he and Willem Dafoe are in it. So you have two incredible. Everybody in this movie is overacting, and it fits perfectly to the material. It's an incredible example of a project where everybody seems to be having a great time because they're going just so over the top in a way that no other director would allow them. But it is in keeping with the vibe that is being created, because none of these performances would work in a different film.
Right.
I've seen each one of these actors in something else, and they're more subdued, they're more realistic, they're more everyday storytelling, and they all work well, except for Cage and Defoe, who they always have they always have that sense of there's something more going on there, which is crazy because when they play a normal character like Dafoe plays in Platoon or the Florida Project, that's when Dafoe is strange. To see Dafoe as just a regular person is like, wait, that's,
Well, yeah. He's even in Platoon, as Sergeant Elias, there's something, I don't know. So you don't know where to place him, and it's kind of like seeing him as Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I don't know if you would think that, or one would think that, like, all right, this guy's fucking weird. So going back to the weird thing, so he's otherworldly. Therefore, seeing him as Jesus makes sense, and I think in that sense it does make sense. And even in Platoon, he is a Christ figure to a certain extent.
Yeah.
It just Willem Dafoe is that fucker. You know what I mean? That he's we've talked about this. There are those guys that are blessed with that thing, which is strange and unique, and you see them. Eggers. I've been seeing a lot of stuff because the werewolf movie is coming out at the end of this year. It's like, oh, he's fucking Eggers' muse. He's used them in how many films now?
Oh yeah, definitely.
All but one, I think. And Willem Dafoe, you see him and you know it's gonna be fucking off, and you know it's gonna be good.
Yeah.
Laura Dern, David Lynch has gone to use her multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think at least 4 times now.
He used her in Blue Velvet.
Mm-hmm.
He used her in this.
Inland.
He used her in Inland.
Mm-hmm. And he uses her in the Twin Peaks reboot.
Yes, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she's got this Americana thing.
Yeah.
And David Lynch, of course, has that Americana thing. And in this film, it's fucking loaded with fucking The Road, Elvis, heavy metal, fucking cigarettes, sex, shit that when I saw it, when I rented it when I was like 12 or whatever, I was just like, yeah, when when they're fucking heavy metal comes out and they're fucking he's kicking and doing flying kicks and punching and she's dancing and they're off the side of the road or they're in the fucking club and then there's like heavy metal and then he starts singing fucking Elvis, and it's very much like those albums where it's like it'll be heavy shit and then they have like a song, like a soft song that kind of like chills it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, there's a character in one. Is it Fast Times that one of the characters talks about that? You know what I'm talking about?
No, I'm not sure.
I have to revisit that. I don't know. I think he basically talks about when they bring out those songs, those are like the fuck songs to the albums.
Yeah. That might be Fast Times. Damone talking about that. That might be.
Yes. Yeah. Point is that it just resonated, and as I get older, I just become more sucked in by the so-called weird shit, and I just want to see things that are just weirder and fucking weirder and more out there. And I don't know if it's just because I have a drug addict's personality, and so I need the stronger hit, or what it is. But the cool thing about films like this and The Wizard of Oz is that you can continue to go back to them, and it may not be like that first kiss, it may not be like that first taste, but it gives you what it gives you, and you can go back to the nostalgia of those early times and like sit in that vibe, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so having done The Wizard, I wanted to revisit this because this is David Lynch's un-Tarantino-like homage to The Wizard of Oz. And there's a documentary called Lynch Oz that kind of talks about these connections, and it's that documentary is like video essays where people, including John Waters, talk about, this is probably one of the earliest fucking films that someone like a David Lynch would have seen on TV. Last week we talked about how so many of us would see it once a year on TV and how it was this anticipated event.
Yeah.
And in this film, Lynch, he brings it. He brings the callbacks. He brings the allusions to The Wizard of Oz that are like, they're quotes. They're unmistakable, but he does it in his own fucking way. He filters it. Tarantino does that as well, but this isn't, I'm going to show you things from a film that you've never seen when the internet doesn't exist as it will exist, and therefore we're going to pretend that I came up with this, and sometimes it'll be inspired and sometimes it'll be a photocopy, but I'm cool, and I worked at a video store, so here we are. David Lynch is like, this is like, when you have a dream, your brain is processing different shit, that maybe something is bothering you, or there's a problem that internally somehow you're working on, or maybe you're not working on, and something that you may have seen or you may have talked about, or something comes up in the dream in this parallel but maybe unfamiliar way, that you're like, I don't know why the fuck why did I have dreams of rabbits or whatever? And it's like, oh, well, you found out your sister was pregnant, and rabbits are fertility fucking things, or something like that, or an egg, or something that it's all about symbolism and psychology and metaphor. And what is fascinating to me is that the metaphors, the Wizard of Oz metaphors that David Lynch uses in this film are not, I don't even think, they're not even metaphors, because they're closer than that. They're very obvious. And still they work. To have the villain be the witch is kind of like, okay, the villain is the witch. The female villain is the witch. But the way he does it, it lends it all of this cultural, historical, American weight, that it's like, no, she's not just the villain. She's not just the female villain who happens to be the girl's mom.
Yeah, very important.
She's the fucking wicked witch, huh?
Very important that she's her mom. So it goes back to it's a combination of both The Wizard of Oz and Disney. The stepmom in most cases,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
it's a parental figure bent on controlling the heroine and making her, shaping her into the form of her own liking and trying to control her.
And be her.
Yeah, and be her.
And be jealous of her. When you said, it's exactly what you just said. When you said It's not only The Witch, it's Disney. You didn't even have to finish that because all of us listening to you at that point, we already know that it's the fucking evil stepmother. We already know.
Yeah.
Because Laura Dern is the fucking princess. We get it because it's built into our cultural awareness through having watched films. And David Lynch is able to tap into that and bring it back and say, like, it goes beyond just this story with this character and this villain. This is archetypal. It's deeper than that. She doesn't only represent evil in this, she represents evil from the fucking canon of all of literature. Just by saying, boom, she's the witch. That and to do that in a movie that isn't really like intellectual, isn't really, it's on the surface, this is a super accessible film because it's just about a love story between this couple, and the sailor is the guy that the mom doesn't approve of, mixed in with the fact that she wanted to fuck him herself, and she's an alcoholic, and she's with all these unsavory men, and blah blah blah, and the daughter is in love, and it's just their little journey. But there's all this other shit underneath, as usual with David Lynch. And the fact that you throw in the Wizard of Oz, it just makes it even spicier.
Yeah.
Paired with fucking Elvis.
Well, it's they talk a little bit about it in the Lynch Oz documentary, and there's the discussion of both films as a road film, as a traveling, but it's it's road, it's the hero's journey, it's self-discovery, and it's battling the forces of evil, and they're standard stories. With David Lynch, it's interesting that he's such a quiet, reserved, Midwestern raised American, but there's a darkness in there that needs to be given, that he needs to shine a light on, because he needs to, as an artist, he needs to be able to. I don't see Lynch as going out of his way to surprise or offend. What I see him doing is more of showing that things are not as they seem, and exaggerating the power of those things. Like, if you look at this film, it's ridiculous in the sense of so much of how everybody behaves, but it's in a weird way, it's a more realistic version of Natural Born Killers to some degree. There's not the violence of that movie, which is a very different storytelling and a very different purpose of what Stone was trying to accomplish versus what Tarantino had originally wrote versus what Lynch is able to. Lynch is but they're all a love story between two people who, Mickey and Mallory, are wreaking havoc on purpose. Sailor and Lula are wreaking havoc because of the nature of the world working against them. And I think I don't want it to come down to one film is better than the other, because that's a pointless that in and of itself is a pointless discussion, in my opinion. But what we see on the screen here is classic storytelling, the road picture, Romeo and Juliet, the Odyssey, but also this wide look at Americana and the dangers of what's out there, and how nothing is as simple as the Americana we ascribe to it. So
Yeah,
there's a darkness there, and I love that Lynch. These are, these are the paints that he puts on his canvas. I really, and I think I had to get to a certain age to understand that about what he was doing. I didn't have that when I wasn't one of those artistic high school kids that could understand that during that time.
And granted, like I could say that I was one of those kids,
Mm-hmm.
but there's on one level the ability to be attracted to something, and then still over time, like as a fucking, when I first saw this, that I was like, yeah, cool, like at fucking, let's say 12, and then let's say I watch it again at 16, and then I'm like, oh shit, like this and this and this, and then now I can see it obviously from a way deeper perspective, because not only do these types of does this type of material serve as like a container for like multiple levels of meaning and symbolism and shit like that, but obviously as we get older we gain experience, perspective, and I think it helped me to be the kid who was into all this shit, and that kind of got me into it, so that I could like swim in those waters for longer, because I went in because I loved it, you know what I mean? Whereas maybe let's say John Ford or Howard Hawks or some shit like that, like I would have watched those movies, but I wouldn't have been like, oh, I'm gonna be obsessed with fucking Howard Hawks. I'm the most, no offense to Howard Hawks, but I mean, like, one of the first thing that comes to my mind when I think of Howard Hawks is that John Carpenter's obsessed with Howard Hawks.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting point. Really, is like how much of the films that how much of cinema history that we understand and embrace is based on the loves of our directors, of the directors that we hold in esteem. You know,
right?
And those films are not going to resonate the same way with us as they do with them. But it's also because it's their shit. It's their time. It's the world that they lived in. Those films commenting on that world. And Wild at Heart definitely comments on late 80s, early 90s American cinematic sensibilities. I mean, you got to think about the times. It was like you're coming out of the Reagan-Bush era, and it's really interesting that there would be an Elvis theme 50s idea of rebellion against repression, because the 80s were a very repressive period that I think it doesn't seem obvious, but David Lynch was really rebelling against that. And it's hard with Lynch because you don't know what his politics were, and if you read interviews with him or watch interviews with him, he'll speak eloquently and he'll speak artistically about something, but you never get a sense of him explaining what his art is about. And he's purposeful of that. He'll tell you. No. He's one of the few he's one of the few filmmakers or artists, when sat down and asked to explain something, he'll tell you, no, I'm not going to do that. And it's refreshing.
100%. Well, I mean, in terms of the politics, it's like most of the times he would be talking about transcendental meditation, and expanding the mind and catching ideas like fish, and a vibration of humanity, and all of these types of ideas typically tend to situate someone on the left. When you're talking about humanity, groups, you're into meditation, you're into, I mean, except for fucking Sam Harris. Anyway, openness, those are not fucking super reactionary kind of state ways of being and ways of seeing the world. The reactionary is to look back and be closed off and to say things were better in this place and we're going to force it and fuck everybody else and all of that. It's not an openness. It's not a it's not a looseness when it comes to that. And in terms of him discussing the meanings of his films in the Lynch Odds documentary, it basically talks about how one of the critics, or one of the commentators, describes Lynch himself as in one area someone says that he's basically like Dorothy, coming from this middle American place, journeying into the world of his dreams, but also journeying into Hollywood, which is an Oz-like place, which we talked about last week in terms of as being magical but also fraudulent, and having a darkness to it. His Oz is all of that as well, as we see in Mulholland Drive. His Hollywood Oz. But while he at the same time is Dorothy, he's also the wizard.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to show what's behind that curtain. He doesn't, and the green curtain for Lynch becomes the red curtain, or sometimes the blue curtain. And curtains figure a lot in his shit. And that documentary basically talks about, there's one reference to, they asked him about his relationship to the Wizard of Oz at some event, and he said, in a Q&A or something, and he said, not a day goes by that I don't think of the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
And it basically, it explores the dream logic that we kind of talked about, the uncanny, his relationship to Americana, parallel worlds, parallel characters, like doppelganger characters, which the Wizard of Oz features that. That's in his shit left and right. People getting hit in the head and having that, like, either being frozen or that kind of switch. And you start to see those parallels multiplying and multiplying. In this film, there are the obvious ones, like showing Diane Ladd as the witch. There are references to Over the Rainbow. There's a reference to going to see the wizard for advice. The curled slippers, referring to Big Tuna's town as if it's not the Emerald City. She's flying on a broom. There's a Toto reference, Yellow Brick Road reference. There's the clicking of the red shoes. There's a crystal ball. There's fire. It's full of it, but it's within. These characters are also aware of the Wizard of Oz, and it's that important in their culture, basically, that it keeps coming up. So not only is David Lynch influenced by the Wizard of Oz, the characters in his film are influenced by the Wizard of Oz because they're referencing these aspects of the film in a way that suggests that they've seen the film. The film exists in their world too.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it would mean nothing to talk about the yellow brick road. Like, well, what do you mean? They go, what does that mean? Like, they know what it means. So we all share that. Like, we, the audience, share that. The characters share that. The director shares that. That's fucking cool. There's also, in terms of the Americana, I was like, oh, there's like some little, like, to me, I don't know if I'm stretching it, but there's just like there's a little JFK type of stuff because there's a guy named Santos, and there's a part, and there's there's Marcelo, and then there's New Orleans, and if you look at the JFK bullshit, like there was a guy named Santos Traficante. He was a mob guy out of Florida, and then there's Carlos Marcello, who was out of New Orleans. And there's a connection there with the potential assassination of JFK. So I was also kind of like, I wonder if did you hear that Dylan song that he came out with? It's like a fucking 10-minute song.
It's an 18-minute song. I told you about it. I remember calling you,
The
going,
"What the?"
Yeah, Murder Most Foul.
Well, you know how in that he's just swore in his own twister, basically. And he's another Middle American who's on that fucking yellow brick road and has been with his doppelganger characters, Dylan. You know how he's just like throwing out all of these figures from the 50s and the 60s and just like revisiting all this shit.
Yeah.
I feel like David Lynch is doing that in this movie. It's jazz, it's blues, it's the highway, it's car crash, James Dean, you know what I mean? Like you see fucking not only one with I don't only see like hair, like the slick back hair and the kind of like Elvis thing. With I also see when you see a guy in a t-shirt and jeans, you know that comes from there's the Fonz, and then where did the Fonz get that? And that's fucking Brando and James Dean and all that shit. And this snakeskin jacket, the way he tells her, like, what exactly does he tell her that it's a symbol of
myself,
individuality,
a
symbol of individuality and my belief in personal freedom.
Yeah,
and it's all of that shit. It's the cigarette. It's fucking American as fuck. But it's an American nightmare.
Well, yeah, that's the interesting aspect of it, is that it's not, and I don't think he's being, I don't think he's slapping in, he's not being like, he's not like, so many artists of today who were like, fuck America, and this is the problem, and no, he's just showing you that
are needed also.
The what?
I said, and to cut in, I said, and those artists are needed. Like there are moments when you do need people. When everyone's going rah rah rah.
Oh yeah, you definitely do. You definitely
need people to say fuck you and fuck America, and I'm proud to be American. Therefore, fuck America.
Yeah. But what he's doing, I think, is just saying, okay, there are some good ideas as far as the American experiment is concerned, but there's an underlying darkness, hypocrisy, and sadness, but also danger in who we are, and this sense of Americana. There is far more to the species, and we owe it to ourselves to be aware of that. And I think that's a lot of what Lynch does, is that he's not afraid to show the realities of the world that we live in, the hypocrisy and the dangers. And you know, you can tie everything up in a pretty package, but it's still a horrible, evil, and hypocritical series of ideas that run this country. And Lynch is not afraid to shine a light on it. And so, like, watching this film again, I didn't love this film the way I did that first viewing. And you spoke to that earlier in the conversation. But there is a great deal that I do love about this film. But it's also to the effect of, now I want to go back and I want to get to the masterpieces. I need to sit down and make time for Mulholland, Lost Highway, Inland Empire. And after watching the Lynch Oz documentary, as much as it pains me, I'm going to have to go back to Twin Peaks. Not so much because that was a difficult watch, but because that's a fucking time commitment.
Yeah.
And I don't have it. But I will say this much, and John Waters speaks to it during the documentary of Lynch Oz. It was the greatest thing that he ever did. That Twin Peaks reboot that he did for Showtime in 2017 was incredible. And I remember talking to you about it, telling you that I had just picked it up. I had made it through the original run of Twin Peaks, which was great in some aspects and fell off in others. But that's what happens when you work within, that's when you work within network television. They had certain ideas, and that can't be reconciled with a David Lynch. So the project itself suffered. But by the time you get to the Showtime reboot, it was all Lynch, and he could do whatever the fuck he wanted to. And what he did, I don't understand, but I'm still captivated by. And there are images from that show that stick in my head in the same way that there are images here. Like, I can't get Willem Dafoe's face out of my head, wearing that stocking cap with those disgusting teeth.
Yeah.
That there's something very, it's frightening. That is. I was talking to a friend who they were asking me what I thought about Midsommar, and I said I liked it. I thought it was really good, really well done.
Yeah.
But he took it to me. He for some reason he took it to mean that I thought it was, because it was a horror film, that I thought it was scary. I was like, no, it's disturbing to a degree, and it's creepy as fuck, but it's not scary. Lynch is scary. There is something about Lynch that you don't feel overwhelmed by fear while you're watching it. But if you watch his films, those seeds get planted in your head and make for weird dreams. And that's the kind of shit that'll wake you up, and that's the kind of shit that'll disturb you, because you know that there are people like the Dafoe character outside. You know that there's a Frank Booth out there. There are weird shit, I'll fuck anything that moves.
I'll fuck everything that moves. Yeah.
You gotta love that. It's fucking nuts, And when you watch Twin Peaks, you get a lot of that, because it's not good. It is good versus evil, but it's also an evil that manifests itself from the culture and the species as a whole. It's not like a supernatural evil, although there is a great deal of supernatural in that. But I think it's more, you can cite it as supernatural, but I think it's more intrinsic to who we are as a species and as a culture. And it's very frightening. his work puts me on edge.
Yeah,
There's
I
something
mean,
about
like
this shit, and I love it. I love that for it. I love it for that.
Willem Dafoe as Bobby Drew in the fucking motel room with Laura Dern.
It's creepy as fuck,
And
isn't it? Oh God.
it's fucked up, and he's fucking like grabbing her and fucking sexually assaulting her.
Yeah.
He's like penetrating her with his hand and asking her if she fucks like a bunny. And he's like, I fuck like a jackrabbit bunny. And his fucking teeth, and you're just like, oh my God. And where he's standing, she had thrown up.
Yeah.
And there's maggots, and it's you're watching a film, but you can fucking smell it.
Yeah.
And then his death, fucking spoiler alert, I don't give a shit. Like, his fucking death is wild as fuck, too.
Mm-hmm.
Shootout with the cops, and it looks like it could have been an accident, but it looks like it could have just been like, no, I'm fucking just done.
You ain't taking me, coppers. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very much, it's very
Blows his
Cagney-esque.
fucking head off with a
Yeah.
shotgun, just boom. It's kind of like, do you remember in Mulholland Drive with the cowboy?
Yeah.
Where the cowboy just he's asking the Trudeau character, the director character, is like, he's just asking him questions. He's like, basically like, this is, I don't remember the lines, but he's just
You remember the vibe?
I remember the vibe of like, basically he's saying like, the choices that a person makes dictate the outcomes of his life. Would you agree with that? He's like, yeah, I would agree with that. And you would agree that those consequences would be coming to that person for a reason, wouldn't you say? and they're meeting on top of this fucking hill at this weird corral with this weird cowboy, and everything he's saying is making sense. At the same time, like, you know what the fuck is what you're being told, and like, what are you gonna say? You're gonna say fucking like, well, no, not necessarily, and you know he's gonna say like, well, then when would it be? What do you mean not necessarily? Because he's telling you, you fucked up, and now you gotta fucking go with what the line that you fucking drew. There's that type of shit. There's Lost Highway, fucking Robert Blake.
Yeah.
That's fucked up. I love that part. And that's Robert Blake.
Yeah. Yeah, that was not accidental.
Robert Blake was not only like Americana off of that, off of his fucking childhood exploitation.
Yeah.
It's also fucking Robert Blake on trial for fucking murdering his fucking woman. Like, is that?
Yeah.
Now this is before that, granted. But I can't fucking watch. Because that incident actually happened during times of like more like Mulholland Drive, which was years later. But I haven't been able to watch that movie since and not think about that. How could you?
Pops its head up. That's there. You wonder, and there are certain actors where you wonder how much of this is true acting and how much is it just capturing what's there. Like this person, there is something to this person that is informing this performance or this character understanding, and he's just drawing it out. Did Lynch know that was going to happen? I doubt it, but
no, right.
But there are certain people where, if you watch Lost Highway, and then a few years later you hear about Robert Blake murdering his wife in a parking lot or hiring somebody to do it or whatever the fuck happened with that. And then you go back and you look at interviews with Robert Blake on Tom Snyder or Larry King or some of the appearances he made on Carson. It doesn't come as too much of a shock, does it?
It's almost, they become, it's not like, oh my God. Like, it just becomes like, well, that, he did it before he filmed the movie.
Yeah.
Like, and the movie came out first, and it's like, I don't care.
Yeah. It's disturbing. It's fucking disturbing. But that's what, I think there's something about David Lynch being able to capture that kind of, I think David Lynch understands the human condition a hell of a lot better than a lot of other filmmakers do, and he's able to act accordingly. He's able to build these weird, cryptic and unsettling stories around the fact that we're not a stable culture. It's like we give ourselves, we paint a better picture of ourselves than what actually exists. In a weird way, Wild at Heart is very similar to Blue Velvet, except that it dispenses with making the world look nice. You know how Blue Velvet creates this...
there's the light side and the dark side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's just the difference of crossing over a street. But it's always there. It's always there. It's always informing, whatever the suburbs are. The craziness is just across the bridge. And with Wild at Heart, it's an understanding that this is there's danger everywhere, and there's a power play everywhere, and it works in such a way as to control people, and violence is that tool. So when you're watching it, in the first 5 minutes, you watch Nicolas Cage beat a man to death in a public place, in what looks like it kind of looks like a train station, but at the same time it looks kind of like a museum. So already you have this place of heavy traffic, but also respectability. And he's just beating this man to death. And it's a funny scene. And Lynch does it in such a way. It's the violence of that scene is so over the top that I laugh, at least. It made me laugh how ridiculous he went with the violence of that scene. But
and Diane Ladd.
Yeah, and Diane Ladd is just up there being her. And she's great at when she starts putting that lipstick on her face and Jesus Christ, that's creepy as shit.
It's so fucking, that's up there with some fucking whatever happened to Baby Dream type shit.
Yeah. And you notice how many different hairstyles she has that are like, she's Veronica Lake, she's Dolly Parton, she's a bunch of, and she talks about that in certain interviews. What's that?
She's Tammy fucking Wynette.
Yeah. And she was Oscar nominated. I don't know who she lost to, but she does a great job in this film. And
she's fucking brilliant.
She's
and
wonderful.
It's crazy. It's crazy because it's like mother and daughter in real life. And they get to fucking like go at it. And I don't know what the relationship was. I don't know if you do.
Well, I can't imagine it was a stable. I mean, you imagine growing up. I'm sorry, but your dad is Bruce Dern. Well, think about it. Your dad is Bruce Dern. Your mother is Diane Ladd. You're dating Billy Bob Thornton at this point.
Oh God!
He disappears at one point when she's making. I think she's making some movie. I'm not sure when it was around this movie, but she went off to make a movie, and he finds out that he went off and married Angelina Jolie.
Oh, this is that period.
I think this is around that period. I can't be sure, but I'm pretty sure she's with Billy Bob at that point. So, yeah, she is Lula. She ain't right, man. There's a lot of fucking problems there. And God bless her for being able to channel it into the performances that and until I started watching her in this film and Inland Empire. And then she plays a lawyer in a film called Marriage Story with Adam Driver and
Oh yeah.
Scarlett Johansson. She's really good in that. She's really good in that. It's a good film, but she's exceptional. I had written her off, as I am wont to do, because I'm like, skinny white blonde bitch. Yeah, that's not going to do anything for me. But watching her in this, and then Inland, I mean, she's incredible in Inland. And I realized, yeah, I was wrong.
From fucking like Perfect World to fucking to Jurassic
Oh my
Park.
God, she is in Perfect World, isn't she? Yeah, I forgot about that. She's great in that.
I mean,
Jurassic, yeah.
Yeah, she's just like, I think she's perfect in Jurassic Park for everything that she brings to it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think she's great. But Diane Ladd, I think, is even Harry Dean has to fucking put upon like.
Oh, he's heartbreaking, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's just to watch. Oh my God.
And he's like, "You fine Lula now," and fucking was like, "God damn, the fucking mother-in-law from hell," you know?
Yeah.
And what is fucking Nick Cage to do? The woman always has a fucking cocktail in her hand. Isabella Rosellini's fucking out there,
yeah,
being creepy as fuck. It's a great cast. Everybody's great.
Everybody's great. Calvin Lockhart, the woman who plays Perdita Durango's sister. That crazy bitch with the eyes.
Oh, the one with the leg brace or whatever.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. She's in Inland Empire. She's the one speaking with that weird accent in the beginning.
Yes, yeah.
And then she's also Laura Palmer's mother in Twin Peaks.
Yeah,
she's incredible. I mean, everybody. They all deliver. It's so on point. J.E. Freeman. It's crazy to watch him in this film and. J.E. Freeman. Santo, is that his name in the movie?
Yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
That's the father of Jimmy Schubert in Go, the strip club owner.
Yeah, he's in Go. Yeah,
mm-hmm. And he's also in Miller's Crossing as the Dane. So he has a certain authority in his films. He's a dangerous motherfucker. He always looks dangerous, and this is the movie that he looks. Where it's more subtle. The danger is more subtle. But there's never a moment when he's on screen where you don't think, this guy is getting ready to kill somebody.
He's in that fucking movie with Sigourney Weaver, where she's afraid to go out.
Copycat? Is that the one where
Copycat,
yeah. I've never seen that.
With Holly Hunt.
Yeah, I heard. That has a great cast. I just... Something about it seemed very, I don't know, salacious. Or I didn't want to watch it because it just seemed very opportunistic,
Salacious,
I guess. Was it good? What's that?
I said salacious is half of what we talk about. You're like, I don't really want... It seems salacious, so... But let's get back to Laura Dern's fucked up childhood.
Okay, so opportunistic for opportunistic's sake. Well, there goes Laura Dern's childhood once again. It all comes back. Yeah, you pick and choose, right? I don't know. Gratuitous? I guess. I don't know. I know that from this point on in my life, I'm going to be going back to Lynch. And he has such a short filmography. There's only about 6 or 7 films.
Plus, he's got the shorts. I don't know if you've seen those, like the alphabet.
The shorts, I think some of the shorts are on the Elephant Man. No, not on the Elephant Man. The Eraserhead disc. So I've made my way through a great many of them. That's some weird shit.
The alphabet is one of my favorites.
I gotta watch it again. I gotta watch it again.
Yeah, that's scary.
This man, I mean, it was a great loss. He was incredible. And you remember when he died, it just came out of nowhere, where it's like, I mean, it didn't come out of nowhere, but there was no awareness that he was dying. There was no awareness that he had emphysema, or that, that an 80-year-old man who smoked 2 packs of cigarettes a day could possibly just die on you like that. But, coffee and Big Boy and cigarettes. This is what the man lived on. Well, until his older age, and then he was very, at least, health conscious with his food. But yeah, knocking back black coffee and fucking cigarettes, and
yeah, right.
I just watch him and I think, man, this guy was a true artist, whatever that means to whoever is listening. This guy created. This guy dug deep inside and I think he put a lot of images on the screen that even he didn't understand. I think there was shit in his world, in his brain, his subconscious that would come out in dreams or ideas that he either put on canvas or put on film, because I don't know if that's a stretch. I don't know if that's making excuses for not understanding something, but there are things in these films of his that they defy a certain level of understanding. And I think when he was being asked those questions about what his films meant, I think for the most part he did know what he was trying to say, but he didn't always know what the images meant. If that makes any sense.
Then that's the instinct, is like, you may not understand, but like completely, but you follow, you trust.
Yeah.
You trust, and you go where it leads you. He talked about, it's as if you're working on a puzzle and the puzzle is complete in the other room, and you're in this room, and pieces of the puzzle are being flicked into your room, but only one by one.
Yeah.
And in an interview, when he was explaining this, the interviewer was like, "What other room? The other room, or something like that?" And they're just like, "Yeah, over there." And it's kind of like, that makes sense. And as viewers, we're getting pieces of the puzzle flipped in to our minds, but the thing is complete in his room, and that's the shit. That's the shit.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Wild at Heart, David Lynch. This episode goes to Slim. Thanks for all of you who fucking support, who, hey, look, we get it, like, times are fucking tough, we're fucking broke too, but the people who actually are able or willing to help us out and have been for fucking years, we don't forget you. buymeacoffee.com/watchRickRamos. That's buymeacoffee.com/watchRickRamos. You can support us there. Our archive is at Libsyn. We have 10 years of sorted shit that we've talked about. It may not be uplifting, but it's something. Goodbye.